Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order, and as directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. Thank you. And now for my major statement. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. The panel members today are Ms. Cynthia Stevens to my left and Ms. Tracy Anderson to her left. My name is Brent McIntyre and I'll be the chair of the meeting this afternoon, and our assessor is Arif Das Mohammed and our secretary is Belhan Rojo. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to matters must be sworn in. In the case of this room, it's affirmation, not sworn in, to avoid the close contact. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, I'll just wait until the siren goes by. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Thank you. And the first property on the docket, and you'll have to swear in the parties, or affirm them, sorry.
Yeah. You affirm the evidence about presented to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Captain Wilkinson.
And you affirm the evidence about presented to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. Please take your full name. And you affirm the evidence about presented to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Just a question before we start. So you're both giving evidence?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're both giving evidence?
I will be. Annette will be giving some evidence, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay, Arif, you can begin.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First file is the Board of Revision file number 19-5084. Roll year is 2020. Address is 1199 5th Street. The business assessment ID is 36863. The business name is the Place for Special Events. The owner is a numbered company. It is 5571635 Manitoba Inc. We're assessing the annual rental value at $66,000. The total area of all premises is 4,638 square feet. Overall ARV for the gross ARV per square foot is $14.23. Down in the middle there, you'll see that the base ARV that we're using is $11.78 per square foot. That works out to a base ARV of 54,636. Total occupancy costs are 11,363, and I'll just state that these occupancy costs are leveled across the board for certain sizes of premises, so it's fair and equitable to everybody within that size of premises. So once again, total occupancy cost is 11,363, which works out to an ARV of 66,000. The premise is classified as a restaurant, so all the comparables down below there are restaurants. We are using, as I stated, $11.78 for the base ARV. That's based on a fair quality premise, so it's not even average; it's under average. Again, so there's the comparables. The comparables are similar in size to the subject. All leases are current in relation to the reference date, and you'll note that the rents range from $12 per square foot to $22.66 per square foot. If you turn the page, you'll see some pictures of the subject property. Some of these pictures are taken from previous assessments, and some have been provided by the applicant. So the two pages, there's the kitchen on the other side and the dining area. And then on page 4, we have the income expense statement that was handed in, that was submitted by the owner. If you note on the next page there, page 5, the property that is in appeal here has not been stated on there. So underneath that is the email that Mr. Gavin and I had discussed. He had sent me that email stating that the property is tenanted by 5571635 Manitoba Inc. And if you look on the page 4, the owner of the whole property is Forum Enterprises Limited. So I just did a company search on that, and on page 6 and 7, 6 to page 9, you'll see the company searches. So there's Forum Enterprises on page 6. You'll notice that the officer and the director are both Edward Rosen. And then on page 8, there's the company search for 5571635 Manitoba Inc. And again, there you'll see the director information is listed as Edward Rodson. So the owner and the tenant are non-arm's length parties. So back to that email that was sent to me, you can see in there that the rent was negotiated, the current rent that they're paying in the amount of $800 plus GST per month was negotiated back in 2007. So we had an issue of that. That is not current market rents. That being said, I did make a offer, and it was without prejudice, but I'm willing to abide by that. So I had sent a recommendation stating that we would adjust the assessed value to our poorest quality premise, which would work out to $9.87 per square foot. And then the new total ARV would be $57,120. And Mr. Gavin and Mr. Rosen did not go forward with that. So therefore, we are I would be willing to still negotiate that $57,120 ARV, and that is my recommendation, and I'm open to questions.
Do you have any questions of the assessor of what he's presented?
Are any of the properties that you have used in your analysis, are they of similar age?
They are all restaurants with similar
square footage.
Yes.
Are they of similar age?
I cannot tell you off the top of my head, but the way we do business assessments is by the size of the premise that's been rented.
I just feel that,
And I'll just note that that is the lowest, the rent that I suggested, $9.87. You cannot find a restaurant that's lower than that or even at that rent currently. So
unless if you rented Mr. Rodson's restaurant, which he is actively looking to market.
Is that the only question?
Do you have any questions? This is more up your alley.
Okay, you were looking at restaurants that you don't know whether or not they're of similar age.
right, when a restaurant is leased out, you would hope that they can bring in business.
Yes.
So any business that's renting out a comparable size space would have similar rents.
Okay, I have actively worked alongside Mr. Rodson for the last 5 years. And with are there any historic restaurants on that list?
But because our model, the way it works is we can say if it's about average quality, good quality, excellent quality, or we can go the other way. So average, fair, poor, and
how do you assess that?
That is based on a model. We get like the income expense statements that you send in every year. We get those from all properties in Winnipeg based on it's a legislation, so they have to send those in.
And is that also based on the income the revenue that the restaurant acquires?
No, it's done by square footage.
Okay, so it's not based on revenue and it's not based on.
The net income is based on square footage that's leased out.
And if it hasn't actively been leased out to, as you said, it's not within arm's length that Mr. Rodson is the director of both properties, the property who holds the
owner of the property.
Yeah, and he is also the renter.
That would be a realty appeal. So if he believes that his realty assessment is off, then he would do an appeal for realty. And I don't believe there was a realty appeal.
I don't believe there was.
Okay. All right.
So this is just a business assessment we're doing, and it's based on square footage. So for business taxes.
For business taxes. Right. Okay, and all right.
No further questions?
Not at this time.
Cynthia.
I just want to clarify. So were you putting the offer of $987 per square foot and $57,120 in front of?
That is my recommendation.
Do we need to know whether they accept that? Or?
I think
we didn't decline it. I
thought you did based on the email.
Yeah, it would suggest
well,
that.
Well, you're putting it in front of them again today is what I'm
yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and we're willing to.
I think we basically just ran out of time, quite frankly. I did have a chat with Ed about it.
So you're declining?
Based on Ed's conversation with me, Ed is declining that, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify what happened there. Okay, thank you. But what age is the building? Do you have that?
Yeah, the age is 1989 for the whole. There's few buildings, there are a few premises, so I believe that one would be the same, is 1989 is what I have.
And then your comps here, I'm just looking, would those sort of in the middle there, the Q8 and Notre Dame Shepherd, would those be in the same general area?
Yes.
The others are not
excuse me.
necessarily?
Can I, sorry.
Yeah, wait for her to finish.
Okay.
Oh, so I'll just be 1 second. Those comps, the Q8 Notre Dame Shepherd, those are in the general area, the others not so much?
They're all in the market region 1.
Okay, they just, some of them seem a little far away from life.
We can only use comps that are available around.
Yeah, no, understood. I'm just trying to make sure that,
Yeah.
you know.
And I could tell you what those comps are. They're all restaurants, by the way, so.
And you had said you don't know the age of any of them.
Of the comps, no, not off the top of my head. Yeah, the first one is Caspera Grill, the other one is Patel Express, the one on Keewatin is KFC, and then on Notre Dame is a Vietnamese restaurant. The one on Shepherd, which is pretty close to the subject, is Johnny's Maple Pizza, and the other one is Sun Valley Restaurant on Oak Point.
And this may be a question for the applicants, but I'll just ask it. So is this currently operating as a restaurant or as an event center, or?
I think they operated when they want to operate it.
Okay, so I'll ask that question when we get there. Maybe you may provide that information. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
And your question?
The age of the building and the business is not 1989. The building was built in 1961.
Is that an effective age maybe you have that?
We have 89, so I'm thinking we got that off a permit or something.
Okay, thank you.
And Tracy?
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused about the addresses. What's going on with 1177 and 1199? Are we talking about 1199, but the address for service is 1177?
1177 is the address on the whole row. So 1199 is the premise that's under appeals.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Chair.
So on the tenant verification form, the restaurant is not listed, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And that was my only question. And you may proceed with your presentation.
Okay. I've just assembled some groups of information based on the actual numbers that we have in order to calculate the ARV for that building. And effectively at the center of this is a lease agreement which I've attached, and that lease agreement has been in place for quite some time.
Okay, just before you continue, what we have electronically is about 6 or 7 files related to what you submitted.
Okay.
So you'll have to identify, it's listed as the Excel chart and then Appendix A to F.
Okay.
So you have to kind of go in that order so we can follow it.
Right. Okay, well, Appendix A is really just for information. That's confirmation of the business tax ARV from the city side. I'm referring to Appendix B, is the lease for the property itself. That lease was between Darris Properties and 5571635 Manitoba Inc. It was signed on November 1st, 2007. Expired for May 31st, 2012. It was never renewed. It continued in overhaul. The restaurant, as I understand it, continued to operate after 2012 and until a period of time is more recent to this. The signatory on the lease, I believe, was Louise, who is the operator of the place for events. In terms of my analysis, that encompasses Appendix C, D, and F. The total ARV for the property comes out to $17,511 annually, which is obviously quite different from $66,000 estimated by the city. And
so I see some, just so we clarify where we're supposed to be looking, I see some water bills.
Correct.
Under C. And where is the $17,000 figure? Which exhibit?
I had it here on my first page. Was that?
That's the Excel chart?
Correct. Comparison business tax assessment estimate versus actual.
It's kind of tilted on our screen.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So is the last page the summary?
That is the comparison of business tax estimate versus actual.
So that's on page 30?
That's essentially, yes. That is a summary.
And that summarizes all of the pages?
Correct. Correct. That's simply the backup. And so the disparity between the ARV calculated by the city and the ARV that we calculate is quite significant, mostly due to the rental amount. And it's Edward's position that the city should not be involved in dictating what rent he should be paying or charging for that property. If it's in fact the case that we have some comparatives for, like on Keewatin, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, they're going to be able to pay a much higher rent based on their business model, which is going to be fast food service, high volume of customers, whereas the place for events has been set up more as a place for events. Essentially, I think sounds like that's the name. I guess the name was quite succinct when it was thought up, and unfortunately, it has not remained relevant for that neighborhood with a lot of the development that's gone on around there. From what I understand, in the '60s, when that place was built, Inkster Industrial Park was not exactly where it was today, and was much more conducive to attracting the type of clientele and crowd that was able to sustain a much higher revenue. And in fact, I've read some historical articles about how Cipriani's steakhouse, it was operated as a Cipriani steakhouse at one point, was a very popular spot in Winnipeg at that time. And likely it would have been able to continue to generate that type of revenue if the neighborhood hadn't developed as it did around it. But in any case, what we're arguing here is basically the disparity between 66,000 as an ARV versus 17,500 as an ARV, and the taxes that come along with that.
Okay, anything else?
I do know that Ed, one of the particular points that we discussed was that he does not feel that it's fair to be taxed based on what the rest of the neighborhood is doing, as opposed to what he's been able to do individually. And I've attached some, on Appendix F, some copies of sales tax returns to the Manitoba government, just to give some background in terms of gross revenue for his business in the last year. That's what Ed is able to do. We are actively marketing the facility We would like to rent it. We would like to rent it for much more than per square footage amount, which I believe is in the area of $3 a square foot. We definitely would like to be able to rent it for more than that, so that somebody else can operate it. But we've been unable to engage anybody at that level. Even around $10, $15 a square foot is very difficult.
Okay, any other questions? Or?
Also with, as a question, I would like to, Ed, the reason he's not here today is he is 86 years old, has been a pioneer in this city since he was 13 years old. He built City Bread. He built a lot of the buildings within the city. And he also actively developed a lot of the buildings. He designed and developed over 650 buildings, built over 250 of them. He has been a pioneer, both him and his wife have been pioneers in employing immigrants and youth and giving people starts. And as for historic information, Cipriani's, which used to be known as the Samovar, has hosted over 1,000 events within the city, was where William Norrie held one of his campaigns, has a lot of historic value. In the last 5 years, I've been alongside Edward Rodson. He's 86 years old. He is in the last leg of his life. He's still actively working each and every day, diligently going into his office. He wants to leave behind a legacy for the community and just has not has never asked for any leniency from the city previously to make things happen. Every building he's built has had a vision for the community, and him and his wife were definitely pioneers for the economy in the industrial age after the war. And it was a place for people to gather. The Russians came over from Inkster Park. There was the third building in Inkster Park. He has been the grandfather of 2 of the North End industrial areas. His story has not been told. He needs some leniency in order to get his affairs together before the inevitable happens. And that's why he has asked for this to be revised, due to the fact that he is in the end of his years, the end of his cycle. He has never taken a pension. He has never asked for anything from the city. He is passionate about building places for businesses, providing employment for individuals that in the last 5 years we have, since I've been working alongside him, have brought in employment programs to get their work experience. We have never asked for wage subsidies or anything to employ these people. And the place has not been making a revenue, although we have been hosting the odd event in the last 5 years. We, for people who have contacted us, people who have been to the place previously, and we also have been actively trying to restore this building in order for future generations and bring in business and have it as part of growing the economy alongside with his other buildings. So we just ask, is it fair to ask this amount from a man who has pioneered so much in the city over the years, over 70 years?
Okay, I have the follow-up process here. So, Arif, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. So at the ARV that you're asking, 17,511.03 works out to $3.78 gross ARV per square foot. Assessments at the city are conducted on a comparable basis. So I was just wondering if you had any lease comparables to support that value. Were you able to find any leases that were close to that?
The only ones that I personally found are city-owned properties because of the age of the building. But the city owns those buildings.
So you found lease comparables?
The leases are like $1.
Oh, okay.
Here, actually, sorry, I didn't share this with you. And they're classified under historical leases.
Are they restaurants?
Some of them are. There is actually King's Head Pub and Eatery on 120 King Street. And actually that one is $1627.60 for the basic rent.
Do you have any close to the $3.78 that you're?
Well, that's
those are the dollar ones.
That is annually is the $1627.60.
And then when was the last time that the restaurant was marketed for rent? Like, has he tried
It's
to?
continuously marketed.
Do you have like an ad or something?
Yeah, it's
stating
continuously marketed through.
So what is he asking for the rent on the ad?
I don't have an ad. I have some correspondence with a gentleman who's looking for a second location for his restaurant. And I believe we are in the area. There was a negotiation. There was nothing hammered out just yet, but I believe that it was in the area of $4,500 a month.
As I recall, since I've been part of leasing previously, has been $4,800.
$4,800.
That seems reasonable.
So that's basically our base ARV. So it would be a net lease that he would probably be responsible for property tax, water, utilities.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we're at on ours. So we're at $54,636 for our base ARV.
The restaurant has been operating more so nonprofit over the last 5 years, just due to the fact of when there are events, there has been no income really generated. So having said that, the people that have come in that have wanted to rent it, have wanted to completely overhaul the interior, which is not cohesive with the vision of the restaurant, considering it was built in 1961.
For their budget. We've had a couple of prospective people come through looking to rent the space and put in their own license. And in order to put their license in, they would have to have a re-inspection of the premises and just some cursory analysis on that. They're looking at a couple $100,000 in retrofits for air handlers and gas lines, things like that, all the infrastructure. That is
the building was built prior to the new bylaws being put in for the requirements of kitchens, and it's still operational under the health board due to grandfathering. The building held the first, has the honor of holding the first liquor license in the province. And So there's a lot of things that have been, that would require changes to in order to effectively meet the requirements of what the city is.
Okay, I think you've answered his question about what the potential rent is.
Those are all the questions.
Those are all your questions. Cynthia?
No, I think I'm good, thank you.
Tracy?
I'm also good, thank you.
And I have no questions. Thank you very much. We'll take all of the information into consideration when we make our decisions. And that should be out within a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Is it free versus
That I have a copy for you. That is
1235?
Julie have, right?
Or yes, that'd be three.
Last one.
You're good.
Okay, what did you do?
If you go to
Hang on. Yeah.
so double click in between that little line right there. Like when it goes black, like that double click there.
Thank you.
Where's
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Stover?
I have the electronic rate.
It's not in there.
Oops, I'm having this bad
The
feeling.
one for is
I can go to the bathroom.
Water jug up here.
Oh, it's
There's,
just,
in, something in there, yeah.
Can I scoot up and find out?
you can just go through this door.
You have the electronic ones?
yes. So electronic will have everything. So the panels.
Oh boy. Should I go print them? Out to the chair.
Well, let's have a break because 10 minutes. We're going to have a 10-minute break, recess. All I'll reconvene the meeting and we'll proceed with affirmation of Mr. Stewart.
State for me.
Jared Stewart.
And you affirm the evidence you have presented the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And just to ask both of you before we start, are all the items on the rest of the docket assessment only?
Assessment only, yes.
Okay, thank you. First property is 607 Lorette, and Sharif, you can proceed.
Okay, Board of Revision file number 19-5258, roll year is 2020, address is 607 Lorette Avenue. Business assessment ID is 28750. Business name is Corrado's Automotive and the owner is Corrado Leo. In the middle there, you can see that we are assessing the property at $41,820 for the ARV. The area of the premise is 4,123 square feet, which gives us an overall per square foot ARV of $10.14. Underneath there is our calculation. So the base ARV is $31,747 based on a $7.70 base ARV per square foot. Occupancy costs are $10,101 for annual rental value of $41,820. Underneath that is our comparables. So you can see the comparables are current in relation to the reference date. The areas range between 2,500 square feet and 6,000 square feet, and the net rents range from $7.25 per square feet to $7.75 per square feet. On the next page, you'll see the income expense statement that was submitted by the owner. If you look at the tenant roll there, there's a tenant in there, the first one, Vacant Auto Electric. You can see that's a net rent and the owner is charging him $10.80 per square foot. On the following page is the overhead of the building. On page 4 is the realty decision from earlier this year for the 2020 realty. And you can see that the board at the time took our recommendation and reduced the total property value, realty value from $943,000 to $699,000. If you look at the next page, there's our calculation and how we recommended that. So on page 5, we recommended a base rate of $7.41. So if you take that rate and you apply it, if you follow through on the EA side, we're asking for revised ARV of $40,653, and that's based on a net rent of $7.41 per square foot. Yeah,
That's your recommendation.
Yeah.
Sorry, what,
the recommendation was $40,650 based on $7.41.
which is the, yeah, okay.
Jared, are you?
No, I'd like to continue. Thank you. Just very quickly, you'd mentioned the premise that's leased by Beacon Electric.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the premise that we're dealing with here today, though, is it?
No, but it's the same landlord, which is also the owner of this business.
Okay, so we're clear, though. The city is using 4,130 square feet, 4,123 square feet. And it's actually Corrado's is the premise in question, and according to the rent roll, that's 4,000 square feet, correct?
According to the rent roll.
Okay, fair enough. Now, these comps that you presented today are not the same comps that were presented at the as part of the realty submission. Is that correct?
I didn't do the realty, so I'm not sure if they are or not.
Okay, but you selected these comps yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick question. The subject has no parking. Is that correct?
the subject itself has no parking, and parking's on the street.
Okay, and it's got a very low land to building ratio. Do you agree with that?
Looking at the picture, yes.
Okay. These comps that you provided, do they have parking?
I can't tell you the details of the comparables. I don't have them in front of me.
Okay. You selected them yourself, so presumably you did check to see that they were appropriate?
I can't remember. I did this a while ago.
Okay. Now, those addresses on McPhillips, I think we're going to see those a number of times today. Just so I'm clear, is that the retail strip center across from the McPhillips Street Station casino?
Yeah, there's retail. There's retail. There's also a restaurant, I believe, and
there's a Pizza Hut, there's a rental, there's a church, there's a radiator person, there's a family entertainment place where they do mini golf. That's the premise. Okay, so that doesn't really bear much relation to a small auto owner-occupied auto repair shop, does it?
The radiator would.
Okay.
Radiator place.
All right. Can we agree then that it's in a superior location? It has better parking. Just overall, it would command a higher rent, presumably.
No, I would say they're comparable.
Okay. Now you're aware, just so we're clear, where this property is. This is Pembina and Lorette. This is behind the J Max Auto.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's a number of vehicle service related properties there that are sort of part of a mishmash from a bygone era. There's no parking and there's tons of vehicle service related. So it's it's not an ideal property to carry out this type of business. Is that fair to say?
Well, he is, and he's also renting out to Auto Electric, so
that's
I
related.
imagine they would be.
But that is, as we mentioned, that is a related company, right?
No,
so
but he's renting to a auto business. So
he's the auto business.
He's doing an auto business, and he's renting to an auto business.
Right, to a
I would
related
imagine that it's all auto related.
Okay.
So it is auto related.
All right. Okay. In terms of the wall heights, do you have a sense of how high these walls are for your comps?
I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, and then just one other thing we're going to see a number of times today is these units on West, and that's the Asta Industrial Park. That's fair to say this is vastly superior to what we're dealing with, is it not?
I selected the comps because they were comparable.
Okay, and you haven't provided any photos of these comps?
Yep.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia.
So of your comps, are any of them similar type of businesses? You said one was a radiator business.
I could look it up.
Thank you.
Is there any in particular you're looking for?
I just wondered if any of them at all were auto-related businesses.
The radiator one is for sure. I don't have the.
You don't have that. Okay. So you were.
Yeah, and again, it's based on the size of the subject and. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
And Tracy.
I have nothing. Thank you.
And I just have one question. All of your comps are industrial?
Yes, they're all.
Okay, thank you. That was all my question. Jared, you can proceed.
Thank you. Okay, so once again, we're at 607 Lorette. This is best described as an industrial property. We're on the north side of Lorette, east of Pembina. It's a metal frame building. It was built in 1989. It has a reported gross floor area of 7,767 square feet with 16-foot wall heights. We have approximately 4,000 square feet of leasable area in the subject premise, though I believe we have accepted the 4,123 in our calculation, though it is reported as 4,000 square feet. Again, it's owner occupied. There's no parking related to this specific premise, and we have an extremely low land to building ratio at 1.3 to 1. So that would be functionally obsolete at this point, and we would suggest that the utility derived from this space is accrues to the owner, but in terms of the market view, there are some issues that should be captured. So the subject property's annual rental value supplied by the city is based on a modeled net market rent of $7.70 per square foot. Again, we are owner occupied here, so we've had to look to the market for comparable properties to determine a fair and equitable market rent. So I've got a set of comps here on my comp sheet. Let's say I've got one on Paramount Road. Just pull this up there. Again, these are all slightly older vintage, late 70s, early 80s. They are all industrial in nature. And effectively, we believe that those are more indicative of the market for this type of property. We're not including the McPhillips Business Mall, for example, across from the casino, the industrial park. We're looking at properties that are slightly older with sort of a limited utility. So with those points taken into consideration, and again, we do have lower land to building ratios, lower ceiling heights, but in general, I would say that these are all superior in terms of land to building, to be certain, and the wall heights are generally higher. So with all these factors taken into consideration, we see an average rent of our comps of $5.71 with a median of $6.25. So based on that analysis, we suggest that a market rent of no more than $6 per square foot is appropriate, which gives us a potential net market income per annum of $24,738. When we take that together with our occupancy costs, we come to a rounded ARV of $34,800. So again, we're not too far off, but we do suggest that a value of $34,800 is more appropriate, and we respectfully submit that the board adjust the value for this property. Thank you very much. Thank you. Marie, questions?
Yeah, can you provide the addresses for your comp?
Sure. Okay. So, okay, one, civic address is 50. 2 is 1145. 3 is 17.
Sorry, what was 2?
2 is 1145. Okay. 3 is 1748. 4 is 141. And 5 is 36. And again, I have included the photos so you can see.
Sorry, number 4 was
4. Yeah, 4 is 141.
And are they auto related?
No, they are best described as industrial. Some of them are they would be flex. So we have to remember that this area does have some, as typical of an auto body or an auto vehicle service related area. There's some area where you go in and you pay your bill, and there's we call that the retail side, although it's probably more functional than anything. So I would suggest that these comps are actually generally superior.
So they're located in Inkster, St. James, and St. Boniface.
Yeah, we're looking at the utility of these properties, whereas I'm not sure that the location is a positive for this property. I do a number of properties down that stretch, and I know that there are some issues with parking and the way that site is configured. So I would suggest that these are certainly superior.
Those are all the questions.
Thank you. Cynthia?
No questions, thank you.
Tracy?
I have no questions, thank you.
I have just one, Jared. Sure. Did you appeal the realty to the municipal board?
No, we didn't. There was so we effectively, in this scenario, we agreed with the quantum of the realty decision, not the individual parameters necessarily. So we have taken a second look at it, and we believe that we ought to proceed with this, but we accepted the quantum on that basis.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. The next property is 885 Wall. You may proceed.
Okay, order revision file number 19-5690, roll year is 2020. Address is 885 Wall Street. Business assessment ID is 31787. The owners are Winwood Millwork Inc. So we're assessing the value of the ARV at 112,740. The area of all the premises is 11,600 square feet. The overall ARV per square feet is $9.72. Underneath that, you'll see that we utilize a base ARV of $7.61 per square feet, which works out to $88,276. Occupancy costs work out to $24,476. You'll notice that we are not assessing for air conditioning. Therefore, the ARV works out to $112,740. This is a owner occupied, it's non-arm's length property, it's non-arm's length lease. If you turn to the next page, you'll see an overhead view of the map. It's located on the wall between St. Matthews and Ellis, I believe. And then on page 3 is another overhead view of the building itself. Page 4 is the income expense statement. You'll notice that the owner there is 885 Wall Street Limited. The next page is the tenant roll, and there again it's Windows Millwork. And then underneath that, on page 6 is the sales verification form that we received from the sale back in 2009. On page 8, you will see that a company search of 885 Wall Street. The name of the officer and director are both Jamie Albert Fissel. And then if you look on page 10, another search of Winwood Millwork Inc., you'll notice that the director is also listed as Jamie Albert Fissel. So therefore, it's a dog-related party that's leasing out to another business. They're charging a net lease of $4.75, but we don't believe that's market. We believe that market value should be somewhere around $7.61. If you look at our rent comparables, they're all similar in size to the subject, and the leases are all current in relation to the reference date, and the leases range from $6.88 to $11 per square feet. So we're asking for confirmation of our ARV of $112,740.
Thank you. Jared?
Yeah, just very quickly. 601 Aaron, can you tell me the nature of the operation in that?
I don't have the specifics in front of me.
Okay. It just seems particularly high at $11, doesn't it? Especially with Wisconsin.
That's what they reported.
Okay. Now, we've mentioned that our property, have you visited this property?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Do you have a general sense of the condition of this property?
We are utilizing average.
Okay. Do you think that the condition of the subject property?
I can see from the picture on page 3, it looks like it's in decent shape. The roof is in decent shape. Parking.
Okay. Do you suppose that these comps, now these are not the comps that were used in the realty brief, were they?
I didn't do the realty side, so I'm not sure what comps were used.
But you chose these yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know about 601 Aaron, but I do know that 401 Weston, that's again, we're back in the industrial park. So I think we're going to see that a number of times today. But the one that jumped out to me is 971 Wall. That's the old Winnipeg Supply building, correct?
So just back to 601 Wall, I'm looking at it. It's on Google Maps. It's very similar to the subject. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And sorry, your question was?
Yeah. No, my question is. We moved on from that. We're into 971 Wall. That's the old Winnipeg Supply building, isn't it?
I'll bring it up.
I ask is because I believe that was renovated for an interior design firm who moved in after. Just wonder if you know anything about that.
I do not. I don't have specifics of the comparables.
Okay. And then 931 Wall, you wouldn't be aware then that that's a showroom that sells granite tile courts. And
I have actually been in that building.
You've been in that building? Okay. Okay. And so we've mentioned we have no air conditioning and are subject to these comps have air conditioning?
I don't have the details of the comparables.
Okay. And just to be clear, in the realty, the Altus position was accepted in full and was not contested to the municipal board by the city. Is that correct?
Sorry.
So our position at the Board of Revision on the realty side was accepted by the board in full, and the city of Winnipeg has not contested it further. Is that correct?
Not that I am aware of.
Not that you're aware of. Okay. It's fine. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
I'm good, thanks.
Tracy?
I'm awesome.
And I don't have any questions. Aaron, you may proceed.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, 885 Wall Street. Again, Wynwood Millwork. Effectively, because this decision was accepted in full by the Board of Revision, I should just tell you quickly, it is an older industrial warehouse south of Ellis Avenue, constructed in 54. We've got a low wall height and a low land to building ratio of 1.45 to 1. There is some parking available. Now, the number that we're looking for is consistent with our submission at the Board of Revision. I've included the exact same comps that were accepted in full and not disputed. So we suggest that a market rent of no more than $6 per square foot should be applied, giving us a total net base rent per annum of $69,600. Taken with our occupancy costs, we come to a rounded value of $94,020. And we do respectfully submit that that is the value that ought to be applied here. In my appendix, you can see the decision from the Board of Revision, and it does clearly state that the decision is based on the applicant's evidence. I've included the original submission. There is, that's effectively it. You can see that's the original submission that was accepted and not contested. So we do ask that the BA follow the realty in this case. And barring any questions, that is my submission. Thank you. Thank you. Reed?
Well, I just noticed that you have a lot of comparables that are less than 8,000 square feet.
Comparables that are less than, I'm sorry? Than
your comparables, the subject is 11,600 square feet.
Yeah, I think with the
I'm
agency.
just wondering why you include those in average amount.
Sure.
And why there's no addresses for any of these comparables.
Well, the addresses would have been provided to the agent working the realty prior to the hearing, so you would likely have that on file, and we didn't have a chance to talk about this one. But
checked. There's no addresses for any of those comparables.
Right. Well, we don't tend to add the addresses into the public record, but we do provide those when the assessor requests them. So we're all aware of that. So we have a set of comps here that were used in the realty, and they just show I suspect the methodology here is to show the universe of these types of property. And we are coming out higher than our average. Our average is 541, medians for 481. So that is adjusted up to $6, and that was accepted. So
those are all the questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm good, thanks.
Tracy? I just have one, Jared.
Yeah.
Is there any, I scrolled through your brief, is there any interior pictures of the building?
I don't believe that interior photos were included in this one. No, of course I do not.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. And the next property is 865 Wall. Just hang on for a second.
Okay, Board Revision File Number 19-5689, roll year is 2020, address is 865 Wall Street. Business Assessment ID is 26864. Business name is Commercial Interior Contractors. The owners are CIC Inc. We're assessing total ARV of $64,080. Total area of all premises is 6,945 square feet, which gives us an overall ARV of $9.23 per square feet. Underneath that, you see our calculation. So we're utilizing an overall base ARV of $7.12 per square foot. And then you see the occupancy costs. So if you total those out, and you'll notice that there's no air conditioning also assessed. If you total all that out, that's how we get the assessed ARV of $64,080. Now, the subject is owner occupied. It's a non-arm's length parties. If you look at their gross reported rents, they are utilizing $9.33 gross. And if you look at our overall ARV, we're utilizing $9.23. Underneath that is our comparables. Comparables are recent in relation to the reference date. They are, the areas reported are similar to those of the subject. So I split them out between approximately 1,500 to 2,500, and then from about 4,800 to 7,200. And you'll notice that all the rents are in the range of $7.25 to $7.81. On the following page is a overhead map of the subject. On page 3 is the overhead shot of the building. Underneath that is the income expense that was submitted by the owners. If you notice that property owners, there is 3760538 Manitoba Limited. On the following page is their tenant certification. So on page 5, you'll notice that the business name 3760538 Manitoba Limited, the officer information there is Glenda Faye Penner. And then on the following page, page 7, for Wynwood Millwork Inc., the company search, also the director information, you'll notice that there is a Glenda Penner in there, and it seems like there's some family members also. And then on the next page, page 9, the company search for CIC Inc. You'll also notice down there in the director information, Glenda Faye Penner is listed as a director. So they are non-linked parties that are leasing to each other. So therefore, we believe that our market rents are indicative of the market, and we are asking for confirmation of $64,080 for ARV.
Thank you. Jared, questions?
Just a few. Okay, so first thing that jumps out to me here is that your comps don't actually support the base rent, do they? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the overall per square foot. That's taken with the occupancy. Okay, that's fine. Now these are not the comps that were used in the realty appeal. Is that correct?
I haven't looked at the realty appeal.
Okay. Now this one was actually heard on the same day by the same board as the property we just looked at. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. And just very, very quickly. 625B Aaron Street. That's a shopping center, neighborhood shopping center, is it not?
I don't have the specifics on any of the comparables.
Okay. Just so we're clear, 1332 Clifton appears to be a pharmacy. The comps on Weston are the Asta Business Park. And then what really jumped to me is 595 Wall Street.
Sorry, how do you know these are pharmacies and shopping malls?
Because I looked them up while I was waiting.
Do you have evidence to
So you can look them up on your computer. I just received these today. And I looked them up. So 300 to 600 Weston, that is the Asta Business Park, and 595 Wall Street is Barnhammer Brewing. So that's a brewery and tap room. That's the old Letterall, which is a place that used to do auto decaling. Then it turned into a place that did windows and glass, and now it's a craft brewery. Just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. Okay, and then I guess my last question is, like similar to the last file, this Altus's position at the realty appeal was accepted in full and not pursued further to the municipal board by the city. Is that correct?
I'm not aware.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
No questions.
Tracy? And I have no questions. Well, maybe I can. How do you know on these particular searches?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the ownership
Of the comps?
of the subject?
I believe they're owner occupied. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, hold on. Let me just make sure, because I want to make sure I'm not misspeaking, but I believe that that's not contested and that was part of our submission. So let me just make sure that's accurate. Yeah, it's considered an internal rent, so it's a non-arm's length. So we went to the market, and that formed the basis for the submission. Yep.
And you may proceed.
Okay, so once again, this is 865 Wall Street, and we are just north of St. Matthews Avenue. The improvement was constructed in 1963. It's masonry construction. It's 6,925 square feet, and it has a 14-foot wall height. The subject land size is 14,488 square feet, zoned M1, and the land to building ratio is a 2.09 to 1. There is some parking available on the south side of the site. Again, this is an internal rent, so we do look to the market to determine a fair and equitable lease rate. So the comps that I've provided here are the same comps that were provided with our realty submission that was accepted in full and not contested by the city of Winnipeg. The city is using $7.12 per square foot, which I believe could be modeled over the entirety of the building of 6,945 square feet. So we have looked at the market, and again, we have an average of 541, median of 481, and our analysis leads us to the conclusion that a rent of no more than $6.45 per square foot ought to be applied, indicating a base net rent of $44,795. So when taken together with our occupancy costs, we come to a total ARV for this reference cycle of $59,400, and we do expect to submit that the business assessment followed the realty in this scenario, and that it should not exceed $59,400. And just like in my last brief, we have the decision. It's from the same hearing, same agents on both sides, and you can see that our decision was based on the applicant's evidence. I've also included for your perusal the original realty submission, which forms the basis of this business assessment submission. So barring any questions, that is my presentation. Thank you.
Brief questions? Questions? Cynthia?
No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Tracy?
I have no questions.
And I have no questions. So we'll proceed to the next one, 1112 Notre Dame, Unit 112. It's the same unit number as the address.
Confusing.
Arif, you may proceed.
Okay, Board of Revision file number 19-5570, roll year is 2020, address is unit 1112 Notre Dame Avenue. Business assessment ID is 33724, and the owners are 3123880 Manitoba Limited and Crystal Sound Limited. Total ARV we are assessing at is 39,180. Total area of all premises is 4,500. Overall ARV per square foot is $8.71. In the middle there, you'll see our calculation. We utilize $6.25 per square foot net to give us a base ARV of $28,125. Occupancy costs work out to $11,025, and that's how we got to $39,180. So it is not owner occupied. They are leasing at a net rent of $8 per square foot as per the income expense mailer located on page 4. You will see the tenant verification does say that it is net rents. And then on page 2, you'll see an overhead map of the subject. There's a building on the bottom there. And then there's an overhead shot of the building. So taking into account that the tenant is already paying $8 per rent, or $8 per square foot per rent, we are well under that at $6.25 per square foot, and therefore we are asking for confirmation of $39,180 for the ARV.
Garrett? Yeah. Sorry, you're saying that the Crystal Sound is not an affiliate of the owner?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, did you check on that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Is it a related party?
It's a related party. That's why. And then it's sort of odd because if you look at the other one, Video Promotions is on a gross lease, and I believe when you break that out, they're at something like $3 a square foot.
So page 4 on the income expense where it says owner occupied.
Yeah.
They haven't put anything down.
And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know who filled this out. That's
so Premier Management and Investments Limited is the owner of.
It's affiliated with Crystal Sound. That's what I have in our notes here for the realty rate. That's fine. We can talk about the market. It would be extremely high for that building to be generating $8 a square foot. Sorry, it's in my submission. Okay. Sorry. Let's look at your comps very quickly. Okay. Again, you chose these comps. They're not the same ones that were in the realty. Okay. Now, 1344 Spruce Street. Can you tell me what goes on in that premise?
I don't have the specifics in front of me.
Okay. I saw a listing for that space saying that it includes 1,712 square feet of bonus space. It's a fenced compound, 4 dock level doors. So I wonder if you checked on that to see if that seemed reasonable. Now the lease term for your last comp, 1123 Notre Dame, it says ongoing.
Month to month.
That's a month to month lease. Okay. And a month to month lease is generally higher than a lease that would be over.
I'm aware of.
You don't think there's more risk to an owner on a month to month lease than if there's
I haven't seen any difference whether it's higher or lower.
Okay. And that's in the same block, so that's a pretty good comp by the looks of it. Can you tell me what goes on in that property?
I don't have specifics of the comparables.
Okay, and there's no photos of these comps? No. Okay, and just by the photo here, it looks like there's a very low land to building ratio on this property. Is that accurate?
No, you can get bands in there. I've actually been to this property to inspect when I was field assistant. So,
and the nature of this business is they do lighting and sound for weddings and events. Correct. And it would be considered utility space. It's not.
There's office also in there.
Right. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Tracy. And I have no questions. So Jared, you can proceed.
Sure. Okay, so we have a industrial office warehouse space at 1112 Notre Dame Avenue. That's the corner of Notre Dame and Dominion. The improvement was constructed in 1956, and based on our research, there have been no substantial improvements to alter the effective age of the property, so it is considered to be true to its vintage. The premise in question is comprised of 4,500 square feet. It's Class D construction. And again, we have a very low land to building ratio of 1.67 to 1, which would be obsolete in our mind by today's industrial and commercial standards. The quality of the building would not be considered high or probably even average. You can see by the photos that I've included here. The subject property was leased, or the subject premise was leased to an affiliate of the owner, so it is not considered arm's length. And just for, so we had to go to the market to see what we could find for comparable space, which is, I chose these myself. It's a little bit difficult to find, but I did on one here that's particularly interesting. It's very similar. It's a recording studio that's a $288 on a month per month lease on Aaron. That was interesting. It's right around the corner. So at any rate, our above rental comparables indicate an average of $4.50 per square foot of similar utilitarian space and a median of $5 per square foot. So based on this, we suggest that a market rent of no more than $5 per square foot should be applied, indicating a base net rent of $22,500. Taken with our occupancy costs, we come to an annual rental value rounded to $33,480, and we do respectfully submit to the board adjust the value of this premise to reflect its market reality. Now, if you go to my page 7, I've got pictures of my comps. The second one is actually it's Mid-Ocean Recording Studio. So that would be, I think that's probably my best comp. Admittedly, that's a fairly low rent, but that it has been checked and vetted. So I did check on that to ensure that was correct. And then I've got a variety of different sort of what we'll call industrial flex office properties, and closing out with our subject. So I believe that these comps are more indicative of the market for a space of this quality. So we do respectfully submit that the ARV be adjusted to $33,480. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dory?
Yeah, so your comparables, again, you don't have addresses. Can you provide me with the addresses, please?
Yes, I can. Wait. Sorry, no, you know what? Okay, yeah, I do actually. Sorry, I don't have them there. I apologize. I don't have the.
So, Aaron, we don't know what the nature of the business is and when the lease started.
Yeah, Aaron, I mentioned too, is a recording studio. It's month to month. They've been there for years.
What's the address of that?
Again, I don't have the addresses in front of me.
The other 3 churches in the Inkster area.
That's correct. Yeah. And the third one is actually 1039 Pacific. I do have that one jotted down.
And 1039 is a strip mall?
Nope, that's not a strip mall. That would be an industrial flex.
Do you know what the nature of the other comparables are? The business,
yeah, number 3 is a woodworker. They actually do some interesting custom woodworking. So I know what they do. Batera is a grain.
Which one is that?
That's index number 4. And number 5 is a restaurant supply. It's a warehouse where they store restaurant supply goods. And Dublin, of course, is an electronics retail space. I've seen the interior of that building. It has a higher quality of finish, to be certain, than our subject.
So you couldn't find any closer to the subject wall or?
Well, I mean, if you know this stretch of Notre Dame, there's not a lot of. It's right next to an apartment block. Basically, we wouldn't necessarily see a lot of flex industrial down this stretch. And I think that actually, to be quite honest, the one on Dublin is not. Well, Aaron is fairly close. So.
Also, you mentioned that the owner and the lessor are related.
Yes,
do you have anything in your evidence?
No, it's just in our file, and it was part of our last submission in the realty that they were related parties.
And so we don't know, do we?
No, we don't have it here. But actually, if we look at that rate, we look at the deduction of the 2017 op cost of $311 per square foot. The indicated market rate would actually be $489. So. Not sure that's. So we understand that was a gross lease with op costs of $311. When removed from that stated $8, we went to $489, which is well in line with the $5 that we're asking for.
No further questions.
Thank you. Cynthia?
No, I think my questions got answered there. Thank you.
Tracy? And I have no question. The next property is 1373 Spruce, and you can proceed to read.
Okay, Board Revision File Number 19-5437, roll year is 2020. Address is 1373 Spruce Street. Business assessment ID is 38432. The owners are Globe Moving and Storage. It is owner occupied. We are assessing total ARV of 129,600. Total area of all the premises is 16,449 square feet. Our calculation works out to an overall ARV of $7.88. So underneath that, you'll notice that we utilize the base ARV of $5.77, which gave us a base ARV of $94,911. Total occupancy costs without air conditioning were $34,708, which gave us the total ARV of $129,600. Underneath that, you'll see my comparables. You'll notice that Myrtle shows up twice there, and the reason being is the lease expired in 2016, so I put the 2017 lease, and you can see that the lease went up by about 50 cents almost. You'll notice that all the comparables are recent in comparison to, in relation to the reference date. The reported areas range from 13,000 to 19,000 square feet, or 13,000 to 19,000 square feet. And the net rents range from $6.25 to $8.16. You'll notice that I could not find comparables that were closer to the base ARV of $5.77. On the following page, we have a map of the subject. And then underneath that is the picture of the subject property. And on the following page, page 3, is the overhead shot of the entire parcel there. So we are asking for confirmation of 129,600 for ARV, and I will need 2 questions.
Gary? Yeah, okay, so the subject was built in 1927, is that correct?
I don't have that info in front of me.
Okay. Is it safe to say that these comps are?
If you look at the picture on page 3, you'll notice that there's an addition also on there. So it looks like it was pieceworked a couple of times.
Okay, but the building is built in 1927. 50 Myrtle, that's the City of Winnipeg Records Office, isn't it?
I don't have the specifics on
Okay.
that.
And it was, okay, so then you won't know if there was any work to be done to entice them to engage in that lease starting in 16? Is there any inducements?
I don't have any details on that.
Okay. 427 McPhillips, again, that's the strip across from the casino.
Correct.
Is that the radiator person? Is that the rental? What goes on there?
I believe that might be the rental.
Okay. So that would be retail space, effectively.
It's a large warehouse.
Okay. 1450 Wall, that's a place that does roofing. That building appears to have been, at least by the outside, it appears to have been somewhat modified. It's got 6 loading doors at the front. Have you looked at that property?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
You don't provide addresses for your property, so it's fine for you to go through all my counts, but I can't go through any of your counts.
These ones do actually have addresses, and we do generally talk beforehand and provide those addresses. So many of these do have addresses for this one. But okay, so 944 Henry, can you tell me what goes on at 944?
I don't have the specifics.
Okay, and we don't have air conditioning, so I'm guessing you're not aware if any of your comps are air conditioned.
I think he's answered that.
Sorry. Okay. You don't have specifics on those comps, then I suppose those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Was this model based, this, yeah, so the age of the building would have been taken into account? Yes. Thank you, that's all I have.
Tracy?
A point of interest, actually. It looks like there's a couple of air conditioning units on top of this building.
I noticed that myself, but since we have it as non-air conditioning,
so
just yeah.
Thank you, that's it.
Good
Thank
catch.
you. And I have no questions. Jared?
Okay, thank you very much. 1373 Spruce Street. So this is a one-story part wood frame, part metal frame structure, presently best described as an industrial warehouse. We're located on the east side of Spruce between Notre Dame to the north and Richard Avenue to the south. As I mentioned, the original wood frame structure was built in 1927 with a planned and gross floor area of 11,457 square feet and a reported wall height of 15 feet. A metal frame addition was constructed in 2005 with a planned and gross floor area of 4,992 square feet with a reported wall height of 22 feet. The total gross floor area is reported as 16,449, and the city has assigned an effective year built of 1950 to capture the difference between the addition and the original structure. We're sitting on a rectangular shaped parcel, approximately 31,806 square feet, resulting in a very low land to building ratio of approximately 1.93 to 1. I've included some comps here. These are the comps that were submitted as part of the realty appeal. Again, we've got a range of comps here. Most of these have addresses. I believe that those on Clifton are in that 1300 block. So based on this analysis, and based on the fact that the subject property was owner occupied, there's a related corporation, we suggest that a rent of $5 per square foot is appropriate. So we've applied that in our calculation, leading us to a base net market rent per annum of $82,245, with a total ARV rounded out to $116,940. So based on the above analysis, we do submit that the ARV for this realty cycle not exceed $116,940. Now I do have the decision here. I could not determine what the basis for it was. It says simply that there was a reduction based on the evidence presented by both the Assessment Taxation Department and the applicant. So I've included our original submission for your perusal. And again, those are the original rental comps that were provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Three?
Yeah, so the comparables you utilize on Clifton there, all 1,500 square foot. Do you think that is comparable to the subject property?
The property on Clifton, I think that would be low. That's a low square footage for what we're dealing with, to be certain.
But yet you add them all up and average them out.
We average them out. Yeah, we've got larger areas as well. So I assume the methodology here used by the agent presenting this at the realty was to show you the universe of this type of space, and some analysis that leads them to believe that a median of 470 is appropriate and an average of $5. So they skewed to the high end and used $5.
I just have some rebuttal evidence. Here's the the Clifton comps that you're using.
Secretary.
Do you have it in electronic?
No, but I can see. That's all I have right now.
You don't have it.
Or I might have it on my. Oh, I don't have it with me. So as you can see, this is basically 1,500 square foot little offices, some warehouse, some just office space. I don't think that is comparable to the subject.
There's no address on this.
Yeah, if you look on the map, on the back it's Google Maps, so on the back you'll see the address of the Clifton, and there's addresses on the right on the buildings. This starts at 1346. The top one.
Yeah, but then as it goes down, it fades. You can't read it.
It's that whole section which is all 1,500 square foot. And then you have on Ellis there, 111
Sorry,
Ellis.
may I respond to this? So you're familiar with the principle of economies of scale, correct?
Yeah.
So if what you submitted here is we've got smaller units, then through valuation, excuse me. Okay. In valuation theory, as the space contracts, the rents ought to be higher. Ought to be
For
higher.
sure, if they're the same type of property.
Okay, and this would be superior. I'm guessing it's safe to say.
I don't think it's the same use. So.
Okay, that's fine.
So and then the other ones, 1111 Ellis. What is that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know the details in front of me.
So okay. Somebody's renting it out for $1.87 net. Is it owner occupied or is it?
Again, I don't have the details of these in front of me. Which one are you looking at? Which index?
1111 Ellis.
Okay, so index number 2. I'm guessing that's I'd be speculating. I'm not sure.
And that's about the size of the subject, but you don't know what it is.
That's an older building with an effective age in the 1950s. Yeah, and it's probably utilitarian space. It's probably very similar to our subject.
So, and what is 951 Aaron?
Again, I don't have the details of these forms.
Those are all the questions.
Thank you.
So you have it listed as no air conditioning as well, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So you're not sure why there would be units on the roof?
I'm not sure. I would be guessing. Although, let's see. I'm not sure.
And you've got the age listed at 1927. That does appear to be a newer building that's tacked on there. Do you have any idea what the age of that is?
Yeah, that is. I think they built that in here. They built that in 2005.
2005.
Yeah, that's 4,992 square feet with 22 foot wall heights. And the original building is 27 15-foot wall heights with 11,457 square feet. So the majority of this building is the older section.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Tracy. And I have no questions. Next one is 1090 Wall, and every few proceed.
Okay, so Board Revision File Number 19-5324, roll year is 2020, address is 1090 Wall Street. Business assessment ID is 4522, and the owner is Discovery Canada Merchandisers Limited. So underneath that, underneath we'll have the ARV of our assessment is 106,320. Total area of all premises is 12,980. The overall ARV per square foot we're utilizing is $8.19. Underneath that, you'll see the base ARV we utilized was $6.07 per square foot, which gave us a base ARV of $78,789. So total occupancy cost with a portion of air conditioning works out to $27,505. And if you add those two together, we come up with an assessed value of $106,320 for our ARV. Now, the subject is owner occupied. If you look on page 6, so that's the income expense statement they submitted. You'll notice that the owner there is James Chalice Enterprises, Inc. Underneath that is the tenant info. It's Discovery Canada. It's a net lease. If you turn to the next page, page 7, so there is the company search for Discovery Canada Merchandisers Limited, and if you look at the director and office information, it's James Chalice also on there. So I assume that the property owner of James Chalice Enterprises Inc. is the same person there, or related, I should say, related companies. So going back to my comparables there, you'll notice that they're all current in relation to the reference date. Again, I've showed Myrtle there twice because the lease expired in 2016. I wanted to show that there was an increase in the rent there. And then on the following page, page 2, you'll see the map of the subject area. And then on page 3, again, there's the picture of the overhead of the building. You'll notice that, again, there's HVAC units on top of the roof there, but for some reason, we have been told that there's only 346 square feet of air-conditioned space. On the following page, on page 4, there's the decision from the realty appeal earlier this year for 2020. You can see the decision was based on our net operating income. And there's just an adjustment in the cap rate. So again, going back to the comparables, so you'll notice that the leasable areas are similar to the subject area, and the rents range from $6.25 per square foot to approximately $8 per square foot. And therefore we are asking for confirmation of $106,320 per acre.
Thank you. Jared?
Yeah. Okay, so just to be clear, this decision was appealed to the municipal board, is that correct?
I believe it might be.
Okay. All right, so these comps we've seen before. This is the City of Winnipeg records, the industrial park, the old Winnipeg Supply Building, the property restoration, and then the showroom. Okay, now that's fine. We've spoken about that. And I'm guessing you don't have details of any of these comparables? Okay. Okay, and we're not, just so we're clear, nobody's disputing that this is indeed owner occupied, correct?
No.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Tracy? Reeve, just to make it clear, so the city appealed this to the municipal court?
No.
Thank you. That was it. And you may proceed.
Thank you. Okay, so the subject property is located at 1090 Wall Street in the City of Winnipeg. It's a one-story industrial building. It's located on the west side of Wall Street, just north of Sargent Avenue. It's actually just across the street from the Cindy Clausen Recreation Facility. The property is best described as an industrial warehouse. We have masonry wall improvements that were constructed in 1962 with a total plan and gross floor area of 12,980 square feet and a reported wall height of 17 square feet. Now, upon inspection, one of our agents did note that the wall height is somewhat misleading as the property is on an elevated slab, leaving a clear ceiling height of approximately only 11 to 12 feet. The subject is rectangular in shape. There's a total size of approximately 24,996 square feet with M1 industrial zoning. And again, we are seeing this older utility of these older buildings with a land to building of 1.93 to 1, which is not seen as a positive element in today's industrial universe. So I've got some photos here. You might know it. It's got the mural on the side. Probably seen it before. I've used some comps that I will give you the addresses if you'd like. We've looked to the market to find some older properties with shorter ceiling heights, and somewhere I guess these are all just north of 2 to 1 on the land to building, but we've tried to find comparables that would help us to determine a fair and equitable market rate. So with the comparables that we've provided here, we come to an average of 469, median of 479. So with these factors all taken together, We do suggest that a rent of no more than $5 per square foot ought to be applied for this building, which indicates a base net rent of $64,900. Now, when taken with our occupancy costs, we do come to a rounded ARV of $92,400, and we suggest that, respectively, that the subject properties ARV not exceed $92,400 for this cycle. If you come with me to my appendices, you can see the comps that I've used. It's the Gourmet Coffee Warehouse. It's index number 1. Index number 2. I'm not sure what the nature of that business is. Index number 3. That's Levi's Leather. That's right off the Disraeli Freeway. I believe that's Disraeli and Henry, if I'm not mistaken. And then number 4 is Rondex, which is on Isabel, which has some retail space in the front and then some storage or warehouse space in the back. And then again, our subject property is included here. So with all those points taken into consideration, we do suggest that the ARV for this realty cycle not exceed $92,400. And barring any questions, that is my submission. Thank you. Thank you. Three.
Maybe if I can just start with the addresses.
Sure. Number 1 is 1485. Number 2.
I have a question.
Sure.
What benefit is the address going to help you?
So I can look for these comparables to make sure that that's what they actually are, because I have had, I'm not saying that Mr. Jared.
So this is for a future hearing, not this year.
Correct, but this is the only way I can get them. So.
Okay.
Number 2 is 1425.
I would also like to put it on the record in case somebody else is looking at this hearing on the video that they know what we're talking about. Because anybody else looking at this hearing will not be able to figure out what these comparables are.
Okay, but I guess the same thing holds true with who the tenant is on your brief, right?
But I do have all the addresses there.
Yeah, okay.
If I didn't put addresses in there, it would be the same thing on the other side.
Okay, fine.
Disraeli is 190.
And that is 30,000 square feet.
It's a
and the
large
subject
property.
is about 13,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's larger than the subject.
And again, with economies of scale, you would expect
Sure. So then you'll see that our average is 465. Our median is 479. So $5 seems appropriate.
and this one on Isabel.
Yeah, that is 177.
Those are all the questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Tracy?
I'm also good, thank you.
And I'm good. So that concludes that one. Should the next two be dealt with together? They're both in the same building.
Is that 185 Bannatyne?
Yeah.
I think that would be appropriate. That's how I've treated them. I put them in the same.
Because it's probably the same brief.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll treat those both together. There's no unit numbers associated with these?
No, it's they're broken up between different areas in the building, but it's effectively it's a Victorian era warehouse on Bannatyne, so it's all I've treated it as though it's all effectively the same. The utility is the same throughout, so they're not. It's a single tenant, it's owner occupied.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah, this is the same tenant. Okay, let's proceed with file number 195276 and 195275.
Yeah, so again, Board of Revision file numbers 19-5276 and 195275. Roll year is 2020 for both addresses 185 Bannatyne Avenue. Assessment IDs are 17959 and 17957. The owner is Cavalier Foods and Cavalier Candies is the other owner of the other premise. They're both related parties. The building is owned by a related party, Fletcher Investments Limited. So for the first one, business assessment ID 17959, we're assessing the ARV at $62,640. The total area of that premise is 10,920 square feet, and the overall ARV per square feet we're utilizing is $5.74 per square feet. Underneath is our calculation, so you can see that the base ARV is 38,548. The area is not all air conditioned, and we're utilizing 3,120 square feet for the air conditioned assessed area. So total occupancy costs work out to $24,102, again for a total ARV of $62,640. Again, we mentioned that this is they're all owner occupied premises. So if you turn to the next page, there's the map of the area, and then underneath is the front picture of that building. What I want to draw your attention, since we're not contesting Fletcher Investments Limited and Cavalier Foods Limited and Cavalier Candies Limited are all related parties, we'll just go on to page 7. So on page 7, this is from their website. Cavalier, it's a certificate of registration. They have a SQF food safety certificate. And what this means, actually, if you turn to the next page, page 8, you'll see that because of this certificate, they had an audit done by these people on September 9, 2019 was their last audit. So on page 9, so what is the safe quality food certification? So the section I have, I don't know if it's highlighted on yours or not. The second paragraph, SQF is recognized by major retailers and food service providers around the world who require a rigorous, credible food safety management system. Designed as a food safety program, SQF also covers product quality with SQF Quality Code, a feature that is unique to the certification program of this type. So when they do an audit of a business that is running a food operation, I guess they want to make sure the quality of obviously the food that's coming out is up to par, but when they do an audit, they also look at all the premises. So on page 12, the highlighted section, now this code is huge, so I just got certain sections that are relevant. So when they do a audit, in the highlighted section there, when they do an audit on the site, the SQF certification is site specific, meaning that all the premises are included in their audit. So they have to be, certified for food quality. They have to be clean. So you can read it yourself there. There's a whole list of rigorous requirements to get the certification. So this is a world quality food processing facility. We believe that the rents might even be on the low side for this type of building or for this type of processing facility. Underneath is our comparables that we utilize to get our base ARV of 353, which might be low. But if you notice that all the buildings are in the Exchange District, they're all similar in size to the subject, what I can find. And they range from, the net rents range from $3 per square foot to $3.49 per square foot. For the first business assessment ID 17959. For the other assessment ID 17957, we're utilizing comps that are also close to the area. We couldn't find, premises that were around 33,000 square feet. So I had to go just outside the area. And if you notice, again, the leases are current within relation to the reference date, and the areas are comparable, and the subject rent or the comparables range in net rent from $3.50 to $8, and that's how we obviously we're a little short of that, but we couldn't find anything to have that $2.80 comparable rent to that. So those are the ones I utilize. I believe that the quality of our premise in our modeling system is set to less than average, and that's why we are getting that low rent for the model. So taking that in, go to that, well, taking into account that they both have the SQF quality certification, even though it's Cavalier Foods who has this certification, but it's the whole premise that needs to have it just because they're in it. We believe that these are both world-class food processing facilities, and we are asking for confirmation on ARVs for business assessment ID 17959 of 62,640, and for business assessment ID 17957, a total ARV of $155,160. Yeah.
Jared? Yeah, just a few. Okay, so this now, just for the sake of disclosure, you and I worked on the realty appeal together and came to an agreement, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I've seen this. Certificate before. Can you tell me about the organization that is this not just a marketing document?
No, if you go to their website, they're pretty big.
Okay.
They are around the world. It is a world certification.
And you're suggesting that 185 Bannatyne is a world-class food processing facility?
They're audited. The audits occur without notice also.
Okay. So just to be clear, what goes on here is they make those little candies that are the lime wedges and the watermelon wedges. That's what's made here, correct? And I did some research into this as well. Isn't a big part of this certificate, doesn't it give them the ability to market the fact that it's kosher? Isn't that a big part of what this is?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to ask you. Now, I just want to look at these comps very, very quickly. Now, we've got two different sets of comps. We'll start with the 17959 business ID. So that's the one 10,920 square feet. So your first three comps, I don't disagree with, but that's all the same building, isn't it?
I believe so.
Okay, so that's at the building where the Createry is. It's right across from Canadian Footwear and across from Redwood College. And 54 Arthur, if I'm not mistaken, is Toad Hall Toys, isn't that?
I believe so.
And they've been there for about 40 years. So this is a renewal.
Well, I don't know how long they've been there.
They've been there since the late 1970s, but I'm guessing. The other thing that I know about the Createry, or that building, that's not a heritage building either, is it?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, but our subject is a class 3 heritage?
It is a heritage building.
Okay, and do you think a heritage building potentially limits the type of tenants that you might be able to get in there over time?
Tenants?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think that the amount of fixturing that certain tenants might require might not comply?
Not tenants. Maybe a different owner might have reservations, but not tenants.
So if a government tenant were
For example, there's a building here where there's a large programming company that moved in and spent $1.2 million fixing up.
In which heritage building was that?
That would be...
You're talking about 433 Main?
No. Okay. Give me 1 second. I believe it would be 250 McDermott.
Okay.
Which is a heritage building, and a tenant moved in there recently and spent just over $1 million renovating.
Okay. And what is the grade of heritage designation?
I don't know what the grade is, but it's heritage.
But we can agree that the grade does affect the extent to which you can renovate, correct?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
And we can agree that the character-defining elements that are recognized, some of those cannot be touched. So, just for example, if you look at a government tenant, a larger tenant with a higher covenant, potentially they would require certain safety features, code, elevators and stairwells up to code, fire suppression ratings for banisters and things like that. And those can't actually be altered under certain heritage designations, can they?
I'm not sure.
A lot of work with heritage buildings, so I sort of like to talk about this, but I'll keep it brief.
Do you have anything in your evidence?
Yeah, I have the heritage designation. Okay, and I was the marketing guy for the Exchange District for years, so I know all these buildings I like to talk about. Total Toys of 54 Arthur, that's a significantly higher degree of finish in the interior, is it not?
It's not a World Food Processing facility. I'm not sure if I haven't inspected. We were going to inspect, but COVID started. So.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then just to reference back to something we were talking about, we're looking at this premise of just a tick south of 11,000 square feet. The Total Toys, where the interior is of a substantially higher grade, is at $3, and it's half the size.
Well, that's hearsay. How do you know it's substantially higher quality?
Because we
also.
Right, because our agents have done substantial touring of that building, and I did speak to the agents last time.
Food processing facility?
No, but the majority of the subject is actually storing these candies for shipping. There's a very small part of this building where the actual processing of the confectionaries occur, and I think it would be more than a stretch to say that it's a world-class processing facility, but that's fine. So 125 Adelaide, 349, 325, that's fine. Have you been in that building?
Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, yes.
So there's an art gallery and an art supply store. Okay. Now 312 William, that's actually the basement of this building, correct?
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, there's two tenants and they're both on gross leases. So I'm
that is actually the main. Isn't that the regional?
Well, so there's two tenants. There's Arts Junction.
Correct.
And they're on a very, very low gross lease. That
this
would
would be
effectively
the Arts Junction.
This is Arts Junction. That's a gross lease now, isn't it?
We can only use net leases. So
right, that's why I'm asking, because there's a robotics company who do farm robotics, and they're in that building as well, but that's not their lease from what I can tell. So I'm just wondering if you check these out to see.
Our leases, when we look for comparables, are only net leases.
Okay, but you can't tell me what the nature of what goes on in there might be. That's fine. Okay, so the balance of this is this food certificate. So on to the next one. We've got, okay, 769 Henry. That's a large property. That's 30,000 square feet, and that's a bakery, correct? Commercial bakery?
If it is, then it's similar to the subject. I would use food processing, I would guess.
And what is the age of that building?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, and does that building have any parking associated with it?
I don't know off the top of my head.
But the subject doesn't have any.
I don't have details on any of the comparables.
But on the subject, you know that the subject has no parking related to it, correct?
The subject is leasing out parking at the back, and there's a automotive garage, which I don't think has access to the building.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Now 103 Princess. That's retail. I know that building well. That's a kids. That's West Coast Kids. They've been there since the 1980s. That has a fairly high degree of finish on the interior as well, correct?
I don't have.
You don't know? Okay. And then 1000 Henry, that's an industrial building, but that would have substantially more utility as an industrial building than 185 downtime, correct?
I don't have specifics.
Okay, that's fine.
I think he's answered.
Got it. Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia.
Does this tenant have the entire building then?
They own that entire.
They own it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, owner occupied. So but they're using the entire building.
Yeah. And then on the side is a garage, and they don't have access to the building. They just it's basically a garage. A.W. McDonald Services, I believe.
Okay, they lease that. That's their garage, or they lease it?
They lease that.
They lease that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Tracy.
I have no question.
I do. You go to the first file. the area on your brief is 10,920 square feet.
Correct.
The area on the mailer they submit is 7,565 square feet.
See, in our system, they are leasing the main, or they have the main floor and part of the second floor. So at one time, there's been a field inspection done on this, and that's how we came up with this area. But I don't know why they're recording that area. So I couldn't tell you how they filled out the form, but
this is the latest mailer.
Correct. And if they have changed, they haven't notified us.
Okay, and the other one's the same.
I don't think they're including the storage area on the third floor for the second one. The Cavalier Candies. There is an annex. There is the fifth floor, and then there's an annex. So I don't know if they're using it for storage and not including it. I'm not sure why they're doing that.
Because the second one's the same, 32,955 in your brief, and on the mailer, 28,000 square feet. So it may require an inspection at some point in time. Okay.
We just couldn't get in there. When we did the realty, I was going to go inspect it, but we worked out a 15-1, and I won't have that.
Okay, that's fine. No, I was just wondering why there's discrepancy.
Or no, it was a recommendation at the board at hearing, right?
I'm not sure. I know that we worked it out, but I can sort of speak to that. One of the issues that we've always had with this building is that I don't think the BOMA standards necessarily accounted for masonry construction from the Victorian era. So the last agent from our office who went in noticed that the stones are like 4 feet wide. So when you actually take that out, BOMA dictates that you have to measure from the outer wall. So he calculated just at a glance over 1,000 square feet of non-leasable space.
So
but it's captured in the.
Was there did they ask for an inspection?
No, but that's something that you and I spoke about prior to COVID hitting, and it's something we should do to get it right, because I understand for the realty, perhaps you have to use the BOMA standard, but with the business assessment, it's a tax on occupancy, so it seems inappropriate to tax space that isn't actually there or leasable. So, but we should inspect it.
Are they the entire building?
Yeah, but there's certain parts of the building are usable and certain parts are not.
And what do they do with the non-usable storage?
I believe it's mothballed. I believe a whole floor is mothballed in that place. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the 6th floor that's not being. There's some access issues too, because there's an old elevator.
I think you've answered your own question about an inspection. Okay, Jared, you're on.
Thanks. Okay, just very briefly, this is 185 Bannatyne. It is the place where Cavalier candies are made. It was built in 2 stages. The first building is built in 1899. The annex was built in 1912. It was formerly known as the McClary Building. They were a distributor of wood stoves and coal furnaces in the turn of the 20th century. So it's a 6-story loft warehouse currently being used as a confectionery producer. It's owner occupied. Again, we're in the Exchange District on the north side of Bannatyne between Main and Rory. The lot area is 17,419 square feet, and it is Zone C for character. It has been applied a heritage, a Class 3 heritage designation, the objectives of which are to prevent demolition, removal, alteration, or repair of the building, erection, or structure until shown to be necessary, and then to regulate any necessary demolition, removal, alteration, or repair, and to record, preserve, where possible, components deemed to have special architectural or historical interest. So those are the character-defining elements. This was actually given a heritage designation in the 1980s, I believe. So it was prior to the character-defining elements being defined specifically. So it has a overarching Grade 3 heritage designation. As we've established, the subject is occupied by companies that are affiliated with the landlord, save and except for a small annual gross rent of $9,900 for that 4,350 foot shed. We're not talking about that today, but that is a gross rental rate of $2.43 per square foot, which results in a net rent of virtually zero. They're covering the cost of occupancy effectively. It's an older loft warehouse, very limited rental potential in its current state. And the basis for this appeal is that the base net market rent applied by the assessor represents an increase of 6.29 for roll number 17957 and an increase of 21.5% of 17959. Now it's our position that there's no, the economic life of this property is not improved substantially. So we did take a look at this, though we did come to an agreement on the realty. And I will mention in the past, we have come to an agreement on the business assessment. So anyway, we're here today to look at this with fresh eyes. So I've got 125 Adelaide. The assessor and I agree that that's a reasonable cost. I've got a smaller area, 2,950 at $2.39 per square foot. The effective age of that building is 1911. And then I've got another new release for 3 years for 8,800 square feet, and that's at $325. I don't think that's in dispute. But I've got another comp in a heritage building on 130 Portage Avenue East. That's 6,600 square feet, 14-foot wall height. Effective age is 1905, and they're in at a lease rate of $2.60. So again, it is difficult to find space that's being used as industrial space in this area, and then to find some of these properties of this vintage are relatively rare in this region. So we've done what we can to look at the market to see what the market might reasonably pay for this property. So we come to a median of $2.60 with an average of $2.75. So again, we've applied a rate of no more than $2.75, and we've done this on both premises. So for roll 17957, we have applied that $2.75 per square foot to 32,955 square feet, giving us a total of 90,626. Taken with our occupancy costs, we do come to a rounded annual value of $153,480. That's $153,480. And for the other premise in question, that's 10,920 square feet. Again, we've applied that $275, giving us a base net rent per annum of $30,030. When applied to our occupancy costs, we come to a rounded value of $54,120. So once again, we suggest that those values are $153,480 and $54,120, and we respectfully submit that those values be altered to reflect the economic conditions of this property at the reference date. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question. I'm just wondering why you would use 275 for different sizes of.
Well, because you wouldn't, the way that these premises are chopped up, I don't know that they should actually be separate premises. You would likely not be able to, I don't think, to rent different sections of this building. It would be difficult to get occupancy. The heritage aspect makes it even more challenging. So we're using what I'll call a nominal rate across the entirety of the property. So I don't know that there's a scale issue here. This is an atypical building. So I hear what you're saying. I generally would agree, but I think for a property with this many sort of atypical issues, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
No questions.
Tracy? And I have no questions. The second last one on the docket is 1830 Dublin Avenue, unit number 2.
Okay, Board of Revision file number 19-5553. The roll year is 2020. Address is Unit 2, 1830 Dublin Avenue. Assessment ID is 33857. Inlet Management is the business name. The owner is 3101495 Manitoba Limited. Total ARV we're assessing at is 101,460. Total area of all premises is 13,236. We're utilizing an overall ARV of $7.67. Underneath that, you'll see how we came to the calculation we utilized a base ARV of 550. Our total occupancy costs were 28,688, and that's how we came to the assessment of 101,460. Underneath that is my comparables, so they're all recent in relation to the reference date. Subject or comparable areas range from 10,000 square feet approximately to 16,000 square feet. And the net rents range from approximately $4.85 to $8.84. On the next page is the map of the subject area, and below that is the front view of this subject. On the following page, we'll see that the realty was confirmed for a 2020 assessment by the board, and it was based on the evidence we presented. And therefore, we are asking for confirmation of our ARV of 101,460.
Thank you. Sure. Okay, so same questions for the comps. I assume that we don't have any info about plan to building or the nature of the tenancy or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't have specifics.
Okay, fair enough. And just to be clear, this base ARV is completely model driven, correct?
Yes.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions?
Great. And I have no questions. Last one on the docket is 12:35.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'll be fast.
Ready here already.
Okay. So our subject property is at 1830 Dublin. It's a one-story industrial building that's the southeast corner of the intersection of Dublin and Sherwin. It's best described as a multi-tenant industrial warehouse. Original structure was built in '62. Planning gross floor area 22,378 with a reported wall height of 20 feet. In '65, two masonry wall sections were added. The first with a plan of 3,554 square feet and a 12-foot wall height, and the second unit with 25,754 and a reported wall height of 17 feet. The site is rectangular in shape with a total site size of approximately 2 acres, but it still only gives us a land to plan ratio of approximately 1.69 to 1, which again, as we've stressed here today, is not desirable for current industrial properties. The premise in question is Unit 2, and it is owner occupied. I have notes from one of our agents from a 2019 inspection saying that the interior, the tenants are, the areas appear to be open to one another. There's no complete HVAC. There are overhead units scattered throughout the building. The heights are 12 to 20 feet, and the finish is very detailed with a note saying that it's reminiscent of the middle 1980s. Subject's property annual rental value is based on a model net market rent of $550 per square foot. So again, we've looked to the market for comparable properties to determine a fair market rent. So I've got this comp sheet here. You have the street numbers included. I have the photos as well. So the above rental comps indicate an average of $5.09 per square foot and a median of $4.95. So based on the above, an April 1, 2018 market rent of no more than $5 per square foot ought to be applied to the Unit 2 space, indicating a base net rent of $66,180. So with that taken into consideration with our occupancy costs, we come to an annual rental value of $94,860. And we do respectfully submit that the subject property's April 21 business assessment not exceed $94,860. You can see in my appendices, we've got the different rent comps, and they're very similar in terms of their utility, in terms of the style. These are these sort of flex warehouse office properties, very similar to the subject. And then I've included the subject lastly there, so you can compare and contrast. You can see that they're all very, very similar. So again, we do suggest that the base be $5 per square foot and the ARV not exceed $94,860. Thank you. Thank you. Great.
So this was appealed at the realty board hearing.
It was confirmed by the realty board, and it was not appealed to the municipal board.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Questions for me? Thank you.
have no questions. That was my only question about the municipal board appeal. Okay, now we're at the last one. Property is 1235 Sargent Avenue and the region.
Okay, Board of Revision file number 19-5599, rule years 2020, address is 1235 Sargent Avenue. Business assessment ID is 26128. The owners of the business are Norwood Tent and Awning Company Limited. And actually it is a non-related party to the, or a related party to the people who own the building also. So we are assessing the property, the premise at 38,340 as the ARV. The total area of the premise is 4,574 square feet. Overall ARV per square feet is $8.38. Underneath that is our calculation. So we utilize the base ARV per square foot of $6.27. Total occupancy costs without air conditioning are $9,651, and that's how we came to $38,340 for the assessed ARV. Below that are my comparables. Again, they're all current in relation to the reference date. The sizes are similar to the subject, and the rents are similar to what we are utilizing as our base ARV. If you turn to page 3, there is the realty decision from the board earlier this year. And if you turn to the back of page, or sorry, if you turn to page 4 there, and you'll notice that the decision that the board made, so they reduced in value and their decision was based on our net operating income, and they just adjusted the cap rate to 6.75. And there is no, to my knowledge, a muni board appeal on this. And on page 2 is the map and the pictures of the subject. So again, we are asking for confirmation of the total ARV of $38,340.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay. Yeah. So just again, no details on these comps in terms of their age, amount of parking, if they're air conditioned, any specifics?
Yeah.
Okay. And all of these inputs are modeled from the city, correct? Okay. Well, I suppose those are my questions then.
Thank you. Cynthia?
No questions, thanks.
Please.
No question, thank you.
And I have no questions. Jared, you're on.
Thank you.
Jared, you're on.
This is Norwood Tent and Awning. That's 1235 Sargent. This is a 1-story industrial building. It's located on the east side of Sanford. It's just north of Sargent. It's a masonry improvement. It's built in 1960. Total planned gross floor area of 4,574 square feet. We've got 18-foot wall heights and a 5.2 to 1 land to building ratio. We have a rectangular shape of the site with a total size of 23,806 square feet. And the property, as we've noted here, is not air conditioned. So the subject property has been valued by the Assessment and Taxation Department with an April 1, 2018 market rent of $627 per square foot to the 4,574 square feet of leasable area. Now, again, there was a reduction at the Board of Revision. It was not pursued further, but when we look at the actual rents applied from cycle over cycle, we do believe that the rents are too high, though we may believe that the quantum in general is within an acceptable range. So turning to the rents, we've looked at the market to determine what we think is a fair and equitable rent for this type of property. And we have a number of, we have 5 properties here on Keith Road, on Bannister, and on King Edward. And I can give you those street numbers if you like. At any rate, the comparables indicate an average of $530 per square foot and a median of 5.5 per square foot. So we do recognize that we have a higher land to building here, though it is an unpaved lot, and it's not what would you call it, high quality building by what we can tell. So we do believe that $550 per square foot is reasonable and should be applied. That would indicate to us that a base net rent of $25,157 is appropriate. taken with our occupancy costs, we come to an annual rental value of $34,800, and we do suggest that that the ARV not exceed $34,800. If you follow me briefly, I've got our comps here on Keith Road. That's in the it's called the Paramount Business Park. 2 through 4 are on Bannister. Number 5 is, I think, my best comp. That's the rightmost unit in that multi-tenanted property. And then we've got our subject property at the end. So again, we do request that the assessment be revised to $34,800. Thank you.
Thank you. Irene?
Just a couple. So the comps are all multi-tenant buildings,
Yeah, they're multi-tenant.
and the subject is a standalone.
It is a standalone, but those buildings would provide a similar utility to be served.
That's one question.
Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Tracy? And I have no questions. That closes the hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.